The knock came before sunrise. I opened my front door to find a deputy holding an eviction notice with my name on it. Across the street, my own son-in-law leaned against a brand-new Corvette, filming me on his phone. "Move it along, old-timer," he shouted. "This place belongs to us now." I didn't yell. I didn't panic. I read the papers, then asked the officer a single question and watched his face go pale. "My name is Walter Hensley. I'm 72, a retired chemical plant engineer, a widower living alone on 6 acres outside Tulsa, Oklahoma." It was a Wednesday morning when the pounding started. Deputy Ramirez stood on my porch, a folder pressed against his chest, unable to meet my eyes. "Court-ordered eviction," he said quietly, holding it out. Across the street stood Trent Doyle, my 40-year-old son-in-law, filming with his phone raised high, grinning. Beside him was my daughter, Diane, 36, a real estate agent, who understood property law better than most attorneys. Arms crossed, eyes low, a satisfied smirk tugging at her mouth. I'd built that porch railing with my own hands so Diane would have somewhere safe to play as a girl. Now she stood watching me get dragged off it, and she looked pleased. They thought they'd cornered a helpless old man. For 30 years, I'd managed refinery operations where one ignored warning sign could cost lives. I don't panic. I calculate. Looking at Trent's smug grin, whatever warmth I still had for my daughter quietly went cold. I turned to Ramirez, adjusted my glasses, and read the first line. Filed by Doyle Holdings, claiming full ownership of my land. I laughed softly. "Officer, this property was placed into an irrevocable trust back in 2017. I cannot sell it, transfer it, or borrow against it. Not even I can. So tell me, what forged document did my son-in-law use to get a judge to sign this?" Ramirez's face drained of color. He stammered that the paperwork had a judge's signature, that it looked standard. "It doesn't matter," I told him. "Someone committed fraud to get this filed. Just wait. Let them think they've won." 4 months earlier, on a stormy night, Diane and Trent had shown up soaked and desperate. Trent's startup was collapsing, he said. A lawsuit had frozen his assets, and without a loan by week's end, they'd lose everything. Diane grabbed my hands. "Dad, please. Mom always told you to look out for me." Invoking my late wife hit hard. On her deathbed, she'd made me promise to protect our daughter, and Diane knew exactly which nerve that touched. I offered cash. Trent shook his head. He needed collateral, he said. Just temporary paperwork moving the property's management under his holding company to dodge estate taxes. Nothing would change. I believed him. I had no idea I was signing away everything. The next morning, a nervous notary arrived with 50 pages of dense legal text. I read enough to trust it, then signed where the tabs told me to. Buried in the middle was a single page I never read carefully, a quitclaim deed. The moment the ink dried, Trent grabbed the papers and rushed out with unsettling urgency. 2 weeks before Ramirez ever knocked, my suspicion became certainty. I found a surveyor at my gate, not from the county, but a bank contractor scheduling my property for demolition to build a retail complex. Applicant of record, Doyle Holdings. I called Diane. Loud music, clinking glasses in the background, not the sound of a company in crisis. I caught the words "fresh snow up top." They were skiing in Colorado on a Tuesday. That night, I drove to their townhouse and did what an engineer does when he suspects failure. He audits the evidence. I pulled shredded paper from their recycling bin and spent the night reconstructing it with tweezers under a desk lamp. By midnight, I had an email chain titled Project Haven Acquisition and a financial prospectus. A demolition planned 8 months in advance, long before that rainy night at my kitchen table. I didn't confront them. I needed leverage, not rage. A contact pointed me to a real estate attorney named Miles Foster. He confirmed the notary had skipped a required step and found something worse. Trent had used the stolen deed as collateral for a $2 million loan, wired offshore. That explained the Corvette and the ski trip. Then I told Foster what even he didn't know. In 2017, after my wife's diagnosis, we'd placed the land into an irrevocable trust. I was only a passive beneficiary. I could live there, but I could never sell or transfer it. The deed Trent forced me to sign was worthless. He'd stolen an asset that legally wasn't mine to give, and defrauded a federally insured bank in the process. We let the eviction proceed, but I needed proof of Diane's involvement too. I bought a small recorder and played the part they already believed, a confused old man losing his grip. I called Diane by her dead mother's name, left my keys in the fridge. They stopped watching me closely. During a visit, Diane stepped out to take a call. I pressed my ear to the door and heard her tell Trent I was losing my mind, that I'd be in a nursing home before the bulldozers arrived. I slipped the recorder into her handbag. That night I listened in horror. She calmly explained how to cancel my heart medication once I was placed in a facility, so my heart would fail within a month, leaving them the money free and clear. The morning Ramirez stood on my porch, Trent leaned on his horn. I connected my phone to a speaker hidden in the porch ferns and hit play. Diane's voice gloating about the wire transfer, then her flat explanation of how to let my heart fail, rang out across the street. Ramirez recoiled. Neighbors stepped outside. Trent tried to flee and spilled coffee across his own lap, trapped in his driveway. "Officer," I said, "I believe you now have probable cause for conspiracy." Within minutes, federal agents arrived. Trent was cuffed against his own car. Diane collapsed to her knees, screaming that she was still my daughter. I told her she hadn't just tried to steal my home. She'd planned my death for $2 million and never even checked whether the deed was real. 6 months later, the trial exposed everything: the forged deed, the offshore wires, and Diane's own recorded voice describing how to let her father's heart fail. 25 years each, no parole. I dissolved the trust, sold the land to an honest developer for $6 million, and left Oklahoma behind. I bought a condo overlooking the Gulf, rebuilt my mornings, and started a medical charity in my late wife's name, helping elderly patients afford the very medication my daughter once planned to take from me. Sometimes the most dangerous people don't break down your door. They already have a key, and they call you family. You can love someone and still refuse to hand them the keys to your own survival. If Walter's story kept you hooked until the end, hit like, tell us in the comments what you would have done, and subscribe to Aftermath Tales for more powerful stories like this one.